Hello, my name's Tom Simic. I'm a psychologist master and a licensed alcohol and drug counselor at United Counseling Services. Actually, I'm a soon-to-be retired psychologist and licensed drug and alcohol counselor. Before I do retire, management has asked me to make available to the public a presentation that I've made several times to allied medical staff at the hospital and to other professionals here local. The title of this, of course, is Sleep On It. We are just going to have a conversation about this presentation. Many people are wrestling with sleep issues these days, what with COVID and financial insecurity, having to do teaching at home, a variety of other things that people are wrestling on top of everything else that's on their plate. We're always taught to start presentations with either a quote or some humor. Maybe I can do both at once with this. When I made the presentation first over at the hospital and I had this page come up quoting Shakespeare, one of the more clever nurses said loud enough for me to hear, boy, if he's going to start quoting Shakespeare right away, he is going to put me to sleep. So I thought that was pretty funny, and everyone else did too. So as you noted in the title of this, this is cognitive behavior therapy, an approach to increasing your sleep without using meds. And people may wonder, what in the world is cognitive behavior therapy? At any rate, as you can see on this page, it's a short-term goal-oriented treatment, takes a practical approach. It's well-researched, it's empirically based, and it is recognized as the state of the science for improving sleep by the NIH, National Institute for Health. Many people are very cautious about using medications for sleep, and rightly so. You're only supposed to be taking it for a short amount of time and in recommended doses. And many people end up getting hooked on it, plain and simple. The doctors are very nervous these days about having people on medications in ways that are not recommended. So simply put, cognitive behavior therapy really helps avoid chemical dependency and can help people have a sense of self-sufficiency, being able to do this on their own. Sleep, actually, as it turns out, can be a learned behavior. Let's go on to the next page. So what is chronic insomnia? Here are a list of the things that are about it. Sleep difficulties actually are ubiquitous. They happen with any number of physical or psychological ailments. Chronic insomnia is a specific kind of thing, but some of these recommendations will work with other difficulties too. If people are having trouble with pain issues, there are some other things that can be recommended. It's not in this presentation, but my colleagues, I'll make sure that they have those recommendations as well. So if you were to come into the clinic, we would take a psychosocial history and a sleep assessment. Essentially, we're just trying to determine what's going on. Clinicians like to know how things started, what has already been tried. We like to kind of be well prepared before we start recommending things. You'll notice on there sleep hygiene. Basically, that is to be careful about caffeine after 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's also about things like sleeping in a cool, dark room with warm bedding, having a steady sleep schedule. In other words, that your sleep on the weekdays are not, your schedule is not different than your schedule on weekends. Those things can really complicate people's ability to fall asleep. And many people have tried a variety of other things, a lot of over-the-counter medications. Melatonin is a big one. Sometimes people do Benadryl that can help induce sleep, but it's just good for us to know what's happening. If you're doing this on your own, since this is being made for the lay public, there are a lot of do-it-yourselfers out there. There's no doubt about that. And sometimes some of this is basic enough that you can give it a try. But sometimes, like in learning any new skill, you need a coach. And there are coaches available both at UCS and privately. The first thing on here, and this is very critical, is keeping a sleep diary. At the end of this presentation, we're going to have a link to the National Institute for Health, and they have a very good sleep diary. It's very basic. It's very easy to use, but it will help us to understand what the patterns are and what some things it may suggest are going on that we can address and help people improve their ability to fall asleep and stay asleep. As we go along in these treatments, in these treatment sessions, we like you to bring the sleep diary with you so that we can take a look at it. It does show motivation. It does help us to know what's going on. And you'll note that in the sleep diary, it not only includes things like when you go to sleep and when you wake up and how many times you woke up in the middle of the night. Those things will be really important coming up. And for those of you who are interested in sleep and sleep cycles, there's a very good presentation by the Khan Academy on YouTube on the sleep cycles. It's listed just that way. Those of you who know how to use YouTube will be able to find that. But the Khan Academy video on sleep cycle. So you can check that out. So the next really critical component in trying to get a handle on your sleep is something called sleep restriction. And sleep restriction is simply trying to help people associate bed with sleep and not to be in the bed lying awake for great lengths of time. So what we do is that we take the sleep diary that you've kept, and if it shows, for example, that you went to bed at 11 o'clock and got up at 8 o'clock, but only got about 6 hours of sleep in that 9-hour period, we would start you out going to bed at 1 o'clock and getting up at, say, 7 o'clock, 6 hours worth of sleep. And this is something that really throws people. They're like, wait, I'm trying to get more sleep and you're talking about less. Well, you'll be tired and it will help move this along. I sometimes use the sleep metaphor, or the swing metaphor. You know, if you push somebody who's swinging too early, it doesn't move it along, or if you wait too long to give them a push, that also doesn't keep the swing going very well. At any rate, each week we add another half an hour to your sleep as you're progressing, and we'll get you up to the requisite number over a period of time. So in the next session, what we look at is something called stimulus control. That does not mean stimulant control like cigarettes or amphetamines or caffeinated drinks or anything like that. Stimulus control is sort of a cue or a trigger for something to occur. And what we mean by this exactly is that bed is to be associated with only two things: sleep and intimacy. Therefore, if you're not asleep within 20 minutes, I'm going to want you to get up and get out of bed and go do something quiet or boring. I don't want you to use your iPad or other things with a lot of light, because that will wake you up. And that's the wrong way to go. Many people go and sit in a quiet, dark place. And when they think that they're ready to, that they might be able to fall asleep, they go back to bed. If you're not asleep within 20 minutes, what do I want you to do? Yep, I want you to get up and get out of bed again. And it's really hard to do. I've had people that have told me that the first few nights they were up 3 and 4 times getting out of bed. And many of them thought about giving me a call in the middle of the night. Don't do that. But this is really important to break the bad habit of lying awake in bed, thinking about all sorts of things, what went on the day before, what you're going to do the next day, this problem or that problem. Those are not to be done there. It's better to go do them at some other time of day. And one good thing to do sometimes is to schedule worry times. I kid you not. I'd rather have you do it someplace outside of bed than when you go to lie down and get your rest. There are some sleep induction strategies, and there are a number of them listed here. The first one, PDMR, Progressive Deep Muscle Relaxation Training. I'm actually going to lead people through an example of that at the end of this presentation. It can be recorded on smartphones, but there are other strategies for sleep induction too. There's some imagery kinds of things to help people relax and not be thinking about arousing kinds of thoughts that keep you awake. The last one listed there is tapping. Literally, it's tapping on the yogic meridians. And for some people, that seems to work pretty well. There's a video on YouTube by Brad Yates called Tapping for Insomnia. You can look it up just that way, and he can guide you through that pretty well. He does a nice job at yawning at various parts during that presentation too. And as we all know, yawning is a trigger for other yawning by other people, which is a cue for sleep. All right, so we always are looking at the sleep diary to kind of see what happened from week to week. One, to see if sleep is starting to build. Sometimes it happens right away. Sometimes it happens at certain plateaus along the way in this. Again, it shows that people are motivated and following through on all of this. Okay. So you may have recalled that the title of this presentation was a cognitive behavioral approach to increasing slumber time without resorting to meds. Well, this is the cognitive part of this training. And many people have negative thoughts that really interfere with our ability to sleep. Some people have very unrealistic ideas and expectations about their sleep, such as I should be able to sleep well every night, just like a normal person. What we try to promote instead is everyone struggles with sleep from time to time. I will be able to sleep with practice. That's a better way of thinking about it and less likely to keep you charged up and in wakeful mode as opposed to sleep mode. Another cognitive distortion is something called catastrophizing. And the most common one that I've run into is somebody who tells me, Tom, if I don't get some sleep right away, I'm going to tank it at work tomorrow. That is certainly an alarming kind of thought and will keep people awake at night. And so we try to have them shift over to, I can get through work even if I am tired. I can still rest and relax tonight, even if I can't sleep. Those kinds of things take away the catastrophe, the alarm kind of mode that we want to get people away from. And another one that's very common is a sense of hopelessness. People will tell me I'm never going to be able to sleep well. It's really out of my control. And I try to help them think that, hey, the research is clear, sleep problems can be cured if I stop worrying and work on it. So I'm going to focus on some positive solutions and get as best at it as I can. Those kinds of things are more conducive to being at peace and being restful. Other people watch the clock. That's always a bad thing to do. It's 1 o'clock, it's 1:30, it's 2 o'clock, it's 3 o'clock. Oh man, I've only got a couple of hours left. That kind of awfulizing also is not conducive to falling asleep. And so teaching people other ways of thinking about that and simply not watching the clock, not easy to do, but can be learned. That's something that is really helpful too. So as always, we review the sleep diary. It's really useful. People will have a number of different cognitive distortions that will have come up that will try to help them find other ways. Again, there are some ways of thinking that are conducive to sleep, and there are some ways of thinking that are wakeful and alarmist and keep you up. And so we really work pretty hard on that. We also do some follow-up on sleep induction, kind of see what they've experienced, if the one that we've tried seems to be working, or if we need to shift to a different one. And again, I'm going to lead people through a sleep induction at the end of this session. So as always, we review the sleep diary. It's always good to know what happens with people between sessions. And by the way, I really, 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 really recommend that you keep your sleep diary a day at a time, that you don't try to think back a week later. That's not helpful. People tell me, Tom, I'm not sure about what the numbers are. I don't know if I really slept or not in this. Do the best that you can with it. If you're doing it at the time of it that night, it seems to work better in this, and we can get enough information from this. I'm not expecting exactness. Let's not be rigid about things. Let's see what we get, and we'll kind of go from there. So at any rate, we also take a look at high-risk situations like going on vacation or some other different sleep arrangement. These things are important to help people be able to maintain their sleep, even when these different situations arise. So we take a look at them. There are recommendations that we can make. And again, we help people not to awfulize if they did have a difficult time, something that we can learn from. That's the important thing about this. So usually we're done in about 6 sessions, thereabouts, sometimes a session or 2 more if people are really having trouble, but it's pretty brief. So I did a kind of a ad hoc study. This is several years ago now. And during a 17-month period, I tried out this cognitive behavior therapy for insomnia with 16 different patients. 4 dropped out for a variety of reasons. They either didn't like it or something happened in their lives that they weren't able to maintain this. 12 did complete it, or at least 5 of the 6 sessions. and the average increase in sleep was approximately an hour and 40 minutes. Now, you may think that that's not a lot, but this is considerably more than what people get using sleep medications. If I haven't already mentioned it, sleep medications only help people to fall asleep on average about 15 to 20 minutes more quickly, and they only get about 30 minutes of more sleep per night. And this has been verified by sleep studies with all sorts of monitors and everything else going on. So yet another reason for using cognitive behavior therapy for insomnia. Okay, there are some other references that you can take a look for. There's a book called I Can Make You Sleep by Paul McKenna. I think he even has a disc that comes with that book. Those of you who still have CD players. There's another book called Say Goodnight to Insomnia by Jacobs and Benjamin. And there are things on the internet, Shut Eye and Sleepio, that do cost you money. These are not free. So at any rate, those are some other resources besides giving this a try. And again, those of you do-it-yourselfers, that's great. If it's not working, ask for help. United Counseling Services is here for you all the time to see what we can do to help make your life better and more enjoyable. At any rate, I hope that this was interesting. You may need to review this a second time, but hey, right now, though, I'd like to lead you through that sleep induction. And we're going to use the progressive deep muscle relaxation training. So if you're interested, what I'd like you to do is just sit comfortably somewhere. And as you take your next breath in, what I'd like you to do is to make a fist with your toes. Just tighten up your toes, not so much that it hurts, but tighten up your toes. And on your next breath out, straighten out your toes. Let go of that tension. Notice the difference between tension and relaxation. As we continue, what I'd like you to do is to arch your toes up towards the ceiling. Press down on your heels. Notice where the tension goes in your calves and in your shins. And on your next breath out, let your toes come down, let up on your heels. Just notice how much more comfortable it is to relax, to let go of tension. As we continue this, what I'd like you to do is to squeeze your buttocks together or press down on the chair. Feel the tension there. Notice how uncomfortable it is. And on your next breath out, just let go of that tension. You may feel like you're sinking down into the chair. Just simply notice how much more comfortable it is to let go of tension. As we continue, what I'd like you to do on your next breath in is to feel like someone is trying to press a football into your stomach. Feel the tension in your stomach. Hold it for just a moment. And now on your next breath, let it out. Let your stomach return to its normal resting position. As always, it's really important to notice the difference between tension and relaxation. As we continue, what I'd like you to do is to arch your shoulders up towards your ears. Hold that tension. And on your next breath out, let your shoulders down to their normal resting position. Feel the comfort of doing so. As we continue, what I'd like you to do is to arch your chin back. Notice where the tension goes in the back of your neck. And on your next breath out, let your chin come down to its normal resting position. Again, noting the difference between tension and relaxation. As we continue, what I'd like you to do right now is to press your lips tightly together, but don't clench your teeth. Hold that for just a moment. And on your next breath out, let your lips part. Let your jaw slacken. Again, notice the difference between tension and relaxation. Continuing, what I'd like you to do right now is to press your eyelids closed, not so tight that it hurts, but you can feel the tension around your nose, towards your temples maybe. And on your next breath out, let go of that tension and open your eyes. Some people at this point like to keep their eyes lightly closed, eyelids lightly closed, and that's fine too. Continuing, what I'd like you to do right now is to arch your eyebrows up towards the ceiling. Notice the tension in your forehead. Notice how uncomfortable it feels. And on your next breath out, smooth out your forehead. Let your eyebrows come down to their normal resting position. Again, as we continue, what I'd like you to do right now is to make what we used to call Popeye muscles, make muscles with your biceps. Hold the tension there for just a moment. Feel how uncomfortable it is, where the tension goes. And on your next breath out, let your arms come down to their normal resting position. Let go of tension. And as we continue, what I'd like you to do right now is to make fists with both hands, not so tight that it hurts, but feel the tension in your fingers and your wrists. May go up your forearms. And on your next breath out, let go of that tension. Just let it go, straighten out your fingers. You may notice that your fingers feel cooler. And just notice that. So this is a sleep induction that we use. Some people seem to fall asleep shortly thereafter. Don't push it, just allow it to happen. Again, what we're trying to do is to interfere with arousing thoughts and give you something else to focus on. But this also deals with tension and can really help people relax and drift off to sleep. There are people who do this exercise on their own once they've gone through it a few times, and they also practice yawning at various points in this, which is another cue to sleep. So at any rate, here are some suggestions. What I want you to know is that practice really helps. But if it's not working, don't panic. Get in touch with us. We will try to schedule you an appointment or give you some other suggestions. There are many. These are not the last, these are not your last resort, that's for sure.